Hey guys, it's Adrian BHA here, bringing you a new video. So this video is kind of sponsored by IPVanish. IPVanish is one of the top VPN service providers. If you're not using some sort of VPN service to kind of hide your internet traffic, then you definitely want to look at something like that. So they are a subscription service. They offer several different options here. I'm not going to go into details with that. You'll want to hit the link below in my description. It'll take you over there and you can check everything out. In order to set up IPVanish for this service, you're going to need to pick a subscription like we just talked about, and you'll create a username and password and everything and sign up for your account. And that username and password is what you're going to use later on to connect to the IPVanish service. There are tons of options out there for you. IPVanish is one of those, and we're going to look at that today. Here we go. So let's do a quick run through of everything we're going to cover in this video. So of course, for starters, we're going to go over some prerequisites that I think you'll need in order for all of this to work properly. We're going to go through several different things. We're not just going to set up IPVanish. I'm going to show you how to take it a few steps further. So on that second step, we're going to install IPVanish. Once we do that, we are going to create some shell scripts. And I'll show you what all we're going to do with that. You'll kind of get the idea as we're kind of going through this video. Then we're going to set up some sensors and a switch in Home Assistant. And this will basically allow us to monitor and control IPVanish from within Home Assistant. And lastly, I'm going to show you what that looks like in action. So let's get started. So again, I run IPVanish on a downloads machine. I have one specific server in my house that I use for downloading and various things on the internet that I prefer to make sure are secure. And so I use IPVanish to take care of that. So what I want to be able to do and what I'm going to show you guys how to do is basically we're going to monitor IPVanish, whether it's running or not running, on that remote machine. When I say remote, remote from Home Assistant. Home Assistant will need to be able to connect into that remote machine and be able to run commands or whatnot. So there's a couple of prerequisites that are needed for that to work properly. One of those is I want to set up a SSH key between the two servers so that Home Assistant can connect in without having to type a password every time. Now I'm not going to go through the whole process of doing that, but as you can see here, this website provides tons of information on how to set that up, and I am going to put a link to that in the description below so that you can take a look at it for yourself. Of course, if you guys have any issues at all, definitely hit me up in the comments below, and I will do my best to help you any way possible. The second prerequisite that you will want to do is you want to be able to run those commands as a sudo. And in order to do that, of course, it's going to prompt you for a password. But I have a link up at the top up here from a video I've done before that shows you how to set up your machines to do sudo commands without prompting you for a password. So that is the second prerequisite that you're going to do. Of course, it will have to be done on that machine that's going to be running IPVanish. Once you have both of those done, let's go ahead and move on to the next step. So there are a lot of different operating systems that IPVanish will support. The one we're going to be working with specifically is, of course, Ubuntu. My download machine, the one that I'm running IPVanish, runs Ubuntu, and so that's kind of the setup that we're going to go through today. And of course, I'll have links to all these different sites in the description below so that you can check them out for yourself. It's a pretty easy install for running this on Ubuntu. In fact, if you are running Ubuntu and using the web interface, then of course it's even easier. I'm using Ubuntu server, and so I'm going to kind of walk through how to do most of this all from the command line. I know not everybody likes that, but of course I'm a command line junkie, so that's kind of the way I like to do all of my stuff. So of course, as always, at least on Ubuntu machines, it's always good, if you haven't done it in a while, go ahead and do a sudo apt update and a sudo apt upgrade to just upgrade anything there and make sure that everything is current.
So by default, OpenVPN should be running on your Linux machine. It's pretty common for it to run on most Linux machines by default. If not, for any reason, if you're running Ubuntu, you should be able to do a sudo apt install OpenVPN, and that will get it installed for you.
We're going to go ahead and create a directory called IPVanish, and this is where I'm going to download all of the install files for IPVanish. All right, so of course we'll do an mkdir IPVanish. That makes the directory for us, and then we're going to go ahead and move into that directory by doing a cd IPVanish. And then from here, we're going to do a wget command that'll download the IPVanish OVPN files that we'll need for this to work. I'll have the command in the description below so that you can just copy and paste it. All right, so when you download it, it comes as a zip file. So we'll go through here and unzip this file. And as you can see, it just creates a whole bunch of different OVPN configuration files so that you can set it up and send your traffic wherever you want. You just pick the one that you want to use and go ahead and use that to run your whole configuration for IPVanish. So to keep from having to type in a username and password every time we want to log in, we're going to create basically a username, password, user-pass file that we're going to keep within our IPVanish directory. And this will store our login for IPVanish username and password. All right, so this is a pretty lengthy command. I'm going to try to cover it as best as I can. Obviously, it'll be different for you with wherever your stuff is stored and everything, but hopefully you'll at least kind of get the idea. So IPVanish takes advantage of OpenVPN on the Linux machine. So for the first part of it, it's --config, and this will be the path to the configuration directory. The next part is -auth-user-pass. And this, of course, will have the path to that user pass file that we created just a second ago. For --daemon, this is going to tell it that OpenVPN service needs to run in the background so that it's not going to tie up your terminal. And then for the last part, the --ca is for the path to the certificate. Now, when you downloaded all of those IPVanish files earlier that had all the OVPN files in it, it also has a certificate file, and that's the certificate file that you're going to point to here. And I'll have all this in the description below so that you can copy it and kind of tweak it to your setup. We're going to start by doing a ps-ef, which lists out all the processes that are running on the machine currently, and we're going to pipe that into grep IPVanish. And basically, we're searching all of those processes for anything that have IPVanish in their name. Basically, it comes up with two, because one of them is the IPVanish service that we're running, so it shows that we're currently connected. The second one, of course, is just us searching for IPVanish. So we're good to go. We're currently running IPVanish on Ubuntu from the command line. Everything's working great. Let's move on to the next step and create some shell scripts. So basically, I create 3 different shell scripts. And I do this because whenever I'm running commands from within Home Assistant, calling a shell script versus typing out the entire command is so much easier. So for the first one, I'm going to call it IPVanish_status.sh. So this shell script will basically connect to that remote machine and then run some of those commands that we just ran to see if IPVanish is currently running or not. And again, I'll have all this in the description below so that you can copy and paste it. All right, so once we have it in there the way we want it, we'll go ahead and save it. Then we're going to do a sudo chmod a+x IPVanish underscore status.sh. That will make the shell script executable. And just to kind of show you how it works, we're going to call that shell script here. And because I already have IPVanish running on that remote machine, it should spit out the path to that config file. So we'll run it here, and as you can see, the only thing that it returned was the path to that config file. That's how you know it's running. Basically, if it was turned off, then whenever it finished the command, it would display nothing because it only displays something whenever the service is running. The next shell script that we're going to use is IPVanish underscore connect.sh. This one is the one that we'll be able to call from within Home Assistant, and it will start IPVanish. So again, I'm just to kind of give you an idea of what it's doing. It's going to SSH to that remote machine, and it's going to run that openvpn command to start the service. And again, I'll have all this in the description. Make it easy to copy and paste. Once you have it all in there, go ahead and save it. And then again, we're going to do a chmod a+x IPVanish underscore connect.sh, and that will make it executable. The last shell script we're going to look at is IPVanish underscore disconnect.sh, and this is the one that we'll of course use to stop IPVanish remotely or from within Home Assistant if we need to. It's certainly a much easier command. It's going to SSH into that remote machine and then just run a sudo kill all openvpn, which will stop all of the openvpn services that are currently running. Once we have all that in there, we'll go ahead and save it. And again, we're going to do a chmod a+x IPVanish underscore disconnect.sh. That will, of course, make that script executable as well. Once all those three scripts are created, then we're ready to move on to the next step and set everything up in Home Assistant. All right, in Home Assistant, we're going to start by setting up or creating the sensor. So I'm going to edit my sensors.yaml file here, find an open spot down at the bottom. Now again, I already have mine added in, but we're going to kind of walk through everything that is set up here. For this sensor, it's going to be a command line sensor. So of course the platform is command line. And then right underneath that, we're going to call out the command. And since we're using the shell scripts, it's basically just the path to that shell script that's in our Home Assistant directory. And then we need to set up a value template so that it knows how to handle the output. So basically what we're telling you is the sensor doesn't display anything, it's not connected. Which means that if it is displaying something, then it is connected. We're going to go ahead and give it a name. We'll call it IPVanish status. Once we have all that in there, we're going to go ahead and save it. All right, so the second part of this is creating a switch that will be able to turn it on and off. Now this is kind of a two-part step because I'm going to set up a couple of shell command entries in Home Assistant, and then I'm going to call those entries from a template switch. So we're going to edit my shell commands.yaml file here. I'm going to add two entries down here towards the bottom. Again, I've already done it, so I'm just kind of going to walk you through what I've done. But I have one called IPVanish underscore connect and one called IPVanish underscore disconnect. And they will basically just list the path to where those two shell scripts are created. Pretty easy. Once we have all that in there, we can go ahead and save it. The last part of this is going to be to create our template switch. So we're going to edit my switches.yaml file here. And again, I already have it in here, so we're just going to kind of walk through it, but it is a platform of type template because this is a template switch. I'm just calling mine IPVanish underscore VPN. And then for the value template, how we're going to determine whether that switch is on or off is going to be taking advantage of that sensor that we just created. So I'm going to say if states.sensor.IPVanish underscore status.state is equal to not connected it will be false, else it's true. And then for turning on and turning off, the service is just going to be that shell command, shell_command.ipvanish_connect for turning it on, and shell_command.ipvanish_disconnect for turning it off. And again, I'll have all that in the description below so that you can copy it, paste it, tweak it, whatever you need to do. Once you have all that in there, let's go ahead and save it. At this point, the only thing else that you'll need to do, which I don't show here, is you need to restart Home Assistant for all these changes to take effect. So jump over to the web interface, go in there, you can check your config to make sure everything looks good. Assuming it does, restart Home Assistant, give it a few minutes to come back up, you should be good to go. Once all that's done, let's move on to this last step and kind of see it in action. All right, so basically what we got here is on top, it is the sensor and switch that we created in Home Assistant. On the bottom, I'm SSH'd into that remote machine that's going to be actually running the IPVanish service so that we can kind of monitor the changes and show you that the switch is working and stuff like that. So, of course, Home Assistant shows that IPVanish is currently running. Let's just check and make sure that is the case on the actual server. And as you can see, it is, so we're good to go there. So let's go ahead and try turning off the IPVanish switch. And as you can see, by default, the template switch only checks every 60 seconds for the current status. So when you flip that switch off, it will flip back on momentarily. So just kind of be patient. Don't be alarmed. That is actually normal, unfortunately, for the way these sensors are set up. And since I don't want to bog down my server by SSHing into it a whole bunch of times, I'm fine with the default of once a minute. So Home Assistant now shows that it is not connected. Let's go ahead and check that on the command line of the server as well, just to make sure. And as you can see, it only shows the one line where I'm actually searching for IPVanish. So it is working as it should. Let's go ahead and turn it back on. And again, it turned back off immediately because it's going to take a little bit for that sensor to update. But once it does come back on and it shows connected. And of course, we'll do that here on the server as well. And as you can see, the server shows that it's connected again as well. So everything looks good. That's the end of the video, guys. So if you're looking for a VPN service to make your internet traffic more secure, then definitely check out IPVanish. I have a link in the description below so that you can check it out for yourself and see what all they have to offer. Let's do a quick run through everything we covered in this video. So of course we started out by going over some prerequisites that we needed to get all this set up the way we have it. Once we did that, we installed IPVanish on our downloads machine. Once we got it installed, then of course we created some shell scripts that we were going to use to monitor IPVanish remotely. Then we set up the sensor and switch and Home Assistant to take advantage of those shell scripts and to keep track of IPVanish's status. And lastly, I showed you what that looks like in action. Again, that's the end of the video, guys. I want to thank everybody that has donated to my Buy Me a Coffee link. Every little bit helps. If you haven't had a chance, jump over to my Teespring merchandise page and check out all the Burns home automation merchandise. Also, again, if you're looking for a VPN service and don't know which one to go with, check out IPVanish with the link I have in the description below. And as always, if you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comments below. If there are any videos out there that you would like to see that I don't already have out there, let me know in the comments as well, and I'll see if I can't get something put together for you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around. Thanks.